Yeah. All righty then. You get close up on that dark one?
Sure can.
Okay.
He's got his old microphone.
Well, gentlemen, here we are back in a beautiful location, just like we were last year, at the fire pit a little earlier in the day, and thought we might get out here and sit around, share what's going on, and think about this past year, and talk about what's got us excited in the new year. So, you know, this is just hanging out. You know, you hang around the fire. It's what you do. You just talk. And I believe that this group does not have an issue with that. So,
True statement.
it's a true statement.
True statement.
So what's your year been like?
It's kind of weird to think it was a year ago we were right here.
I know.
Yeah,
Fast
definitely
year.
it went fast.
Fast year.
So fast.
That is true.
Golly, I'm trying to think this year. There's so many things that happened. All the mission trips we went on, a lot of growth at the church. I don't know how to specifically come out with one thing that was like, oh yeah, this one thing. This is what was
This
epic.
did feel like a year where it wasn't necessarily 2 or 3 massive things that happened, but a real steady, almost like a real steady ascent and growth of, you know, real positive and good things we saw. Just consistent, you know.
It was busy, but it was smooth.
Yeah.
A lot of new families and a lot of new folks coming and checking us out and quite frankly staying with us. A lot of life group growth, which has been really fun to see.
For me, one thing has been, you know, we started this podcast because Michael one day at church goes, hey, we're doing a podcast. And suddenly, you know, I guess it's like, well, we promised them, I guess we should do it. So, but I think that's been a neat project for us, just as an executive team and for the church, because I know a lot of people enjoy listening. But, you know, for me, the podcast is a little bit of a challenge because you've got to think beyond what you're preaching on Sunday, and be able to anticipate and take questions from people. And I think it's been really fun. I think it's been real special for us. So that's kind of one thing that's really stood out, is just that ability to go into different mediums to continue to
Yeah, and we're
people.
over 3,000
Wow.
downloads.
Man.
We're almost at 4.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That was the whole thing. We talked about it, but it was, you know, someone had to finally say it from the stage, so then we have to pull it off, right?
Yeah, now we got to do it.
But it was more of a, how do we get it out there, get another element out there for people, whether they couldn't come on a weekend or they couldn't get on YouTube or whatever. They're just driving and they want to hear some kind of conversation with pastors. And I mean, we've even had other people on it, not just pastors, missions team people and stuff like that, life group people. But we just thought, man, why are we not utilizing this just to get our message out there to people? And so to have almost 4,000 now downloads is pretty special to think. People are liking that.
Like I said, it's steady. You know, we didn't suddenly have, and that's why it feels like it's a real solid growth for us. Is it wasn't just some massive explosion kind of based off something big or flashy. Just, I feel like we never stopped being ourselves. Never stopped being true to what we as a church believe we should be, and God's honoring that. And
I've enjoyed it. I think just the conversation, it just brings up more thoughts that go deeper into the message itself. And I think hearing the input and questions that came right after the message from folks that we've all talked to and said, oh, by the way, you know, Brian, so-and-so asked me this, I wanted to bring that up. That kind of thing, I think is just extremely helpful, not just for those who are listening, but for us to realize, hey, you know what, there's some things we want to make sure we're covering, but we're sharing. And I think it's been extremely helpful. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it's another way to engage people outside of just that one Sunday point. You know, throughout the week, it's just another thing to get people thinking on what Scripture is saying and what we're talking about in church, and just I think that's great. So, and it does enable you to go a little deeper beyond what you just preached on. You know, flesh that out a little more, which is great. So. for me, definitely one of the big highlights was the Amazon trip.
Amen to that.
Just seeing the, having a huge team on the one hand, so many people going to that. It was really cool getting some students to come to that. We had several students that came to that. Some of them got baptized in the Amazon. We swam with dolphins.
Pink ones, by the way.
What's that?
Pink ones.
Pink ones, pink dolphins.
Michael rode one, didn't you?
2 actually, I think.
Or
yeah.
the same one twice. We don't
Or
know.
the same. Yeah. It was 2 different times. Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, I was on 2 of them.
Yeah.
Man. You
Thank you for giving my son ideas for when he goes.
And I learned that my response to fear is just to uncontrollably laugh, apparently, because
I learned that about
you get in there and
learned that about you.
creatures from the deep start hitting your legs, and it's like, I don't know what to do but just laugh until, like, thinking I'm about to, this is the end.
I didn't know you could hit those notes.
Yeah.
You can't hit it.
Yeah, they always
Pretty good notes.
they always put me as a tenor, but really, yeah, exactly. So, a true male soprano. It's rare, but it happens. Yeah. No, that was it was an awesome trip, and it was cool to see people from our church just engage, and a lot of new
We
people.
only had, 5 of the 40 folks who'd been before, and see so many new people catch fire for that and realize, you know what, God's really doing stuff around the globe.
Man, that was the sweet thing for me, is just thinking, not just the people on the Amazon, though that's awesome and they're great people we met, but thinking about the Brazilians who were on the boat.
Yeah.
And just how close we got to those brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And the pastors and their wives, and you're just sitting there thinking, man, they are doing ministry here.
Right.
And that was one of the questions was, here we are evangelizing in these villages, literally at the ends of the earth. And you're going, these people are coming to faith, and then we get on a boat and leave. Who disciples them?
Right.
But those pastors are like, no, we get on another boat, a smaller boat, and we come back.
Right.
And we check in and we
Right.
get to know. And so
It was amazing
It's
to
just sweet
see.
to be a part of that.
That was one of my favorite parts about that whole trip, was meeting the Brazilian team and just seeing their heart for the Lord, their heart for those people. And it's not an easy ministry to have. You know, you don't see these people on a regular basis, but meet Pastor Yvonne and Karina, his wife, and the others that regularly travel up the river and stop at these villages, building into those pastors, Pastor Aziz, and just seeing their heart for the Lord. And again, it is a cool reminder of just the family of God is all around the world. And so we got brothers and sisters in other countries, and it's just a cool experience to get outside of your comfort zone, but to see that God's working all around the world,
Well, and on top of that, let's go back to before the trip, and we throw out that we're wanting to dig water wells.
Yeah.
And then by the time we're done, we're trying to figure out how many water wells we can actually dig because of the overwhelming response to that, which was, unbelievable.
If someone wants to know, is listening in right now, and they want to know, what is this church like? Let me tell you this. We're like, we need to raise $18,000. We need 12 of that to go to water wells. We need the other 6 to go to food packs for all these families. We're on a boat. We can't continually put more food packs on, because then all the people who are supposed to be on the boat would have to get off because there's not room. So we have a certain amount of that, but wells, I guess it could go up, but we're only going to try to do 2. So when we promote it one Sunday, which we never do, we never from the pulpit say, we're not against it necessarily, but we just never do. Say, hey, let's raise money for this. And we just say, if you think about it, we're trying to raise $18,000. We'd love if you guys would chip in. Before church was over, we were probably halfway there. And then by the end of the day, we were all the way there. And by the next day, we were well over, going, oh, this is kind of cool. By the time the middle of the week came, we were at like $32,000. And so we're like, we're going to have to tell our people to quit giving. Yeah. What pastor gets on stage and tells his congregation to stop giving? But that weekend, Barkev got on stage and asked the congregation, like, you guys don't have to keep giving. We're well above. In fact, I think we ended up raising $78,000, $78,000. We're like, we only wanted 18, guys. We can't go build that many water wells.
We only want your tithe from starting right now.
We don't need to offer. Yeah, we're going to call the other people going on trips saying, hey, we got a well that y'all need to dig for us.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the next trip, we got a well y'all need to dig. And that's our church. It just shows the generosity of our church. It shows really spiritual maturity of our church. it also shows what I love is the leadership of the church who hasn't gone constantly asking for this, that, and the other, waiting for one moment where you really feel like the Lord's going, hey, this is something I want you to ask your people. Because basically we hadn't been before COVID. When COVID happened, and we haven't been since then. I mean, so when COVID happened, the way they did ministry on Amazon Outreach changed just a little bit with water wells and food packs. So we hadn't been, and so when we found out, oh yeah, we're gonna do water wells and stuff, we're like, we've not ever done that. So that's where it all kind of led to, I think we should ask our people. And then they went above and beyond, and then kept, because even after the Sunday, quit giving, they kept giving. We're like, let's just not even talk about it anymore. Just keep the tally and let's figure out how we can build more wells. So that's our church to a T, which is awesome to be a part of.
Our people were like, we're going to purify the whole Amazon River. Like, we're going to
start
give
this tributary. We're going to go to the next.
And it's like, hey guys, we don't need you to do this anymore. Yeah, no, we're going
keep
to.
doing it,
We're going to do it.
Appreciate you listening to you. Don't care what you're saying right now. Yeah, where's your faith, Pastor?
That's the hard part is when you go, okay, so where do I?
That's good. That's so fun, man. That was such a special thing. And then to come back and to do something that, since I've been attending, let alone on staff, I don't know if we've done, but to talk about all the mission trips, the Belize mission trip a little bit, we talked about after that, but then the Amazon mission trip and then the Taiwan mission trip, some of those things, it's just sweet to go look at what's happened through our church and the people here around the globe for the kingdom.
Hearing the stories about the Taiwan trip was really cool, just hearing how they were able to equip that church with and help them build up that youth program. Seeing one of our own youth who just graduated go, Harrison, he went, and it was just awesome to see him go on that and just be able to, see that team grow in their faith and just be able to serve in that way.
Mm-hmm. Tim and Wendy to not give up and keep pressing in.
I know, because COVID made that so.
Well, that, and then whenever they got the call saying, oh, the place we're going to let you go for VBS, we're not going to do it anymore. And so you got to figure it out. And the one church that they talked to that was like, yeah, come to us. They had one kid under 50, or one person under 50 in the whole church. And it happened to be a kid. Oh my goodness gracious. And so anyway, they trusted the Lord. And now there's 17.
It looks extra just spiritual and epic as you're
Holy
talking
Spirit's
in the
coming
smoke
on
right now.
Now, I wish I had some vision right now. I can't see a thing. I'm crying because it's so emotional.
To invest in a special effects team.
Yeah.
We just need a clear
put some
box here. You
smoke.
can't see. Anyway, no, but just to think that from that they go, well, there's one kid here. What are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to do VBS? And now there's a youth group of like 17, 18 kids there at the church from the VBS they put on. Yeah. You're going, man, look what you guys did. Look what the Lord did. So it's just sweet to be a part of those things. And that was just a couple months ago. Here we are supposed to talk about the year, but we've already talked about some highlights, and they've just been in the last few months. I think one of the cool things that really was, I don't even know how the whole thing got birthed, except I think you brought it up, Nathan. I know you put a lot of work into it, but the whole Good Friday experience.
Yeah, that
was
was
a different experience than what we've done in the past.
It was fun.
Created the environment in the sanctuary. We literally brought in a jungle. I forget how many truckloads of trees and shrubs we rented. I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, that was I've done similar things, and we were discussing how to change up Easter and do some new stuff, and I just remember sitting there going, oh yeah, we can do this. I can do this.
Not really knowing.
And then I'm
mean?
like, in my head, I'm like, okay, we got this. And then watching people stick their head in going, you gonna do this?
I remember going to pick up the styrofoam in a moving truck with you, and I'm thinking, you're about to take these humongous pieces of styrofoam and make this stage with
make it into a tomb, like an open tomb.
And I'm like, I trust you, but wow, this is gonna be a lot of work.
And I think we stored those in Barkeff's office, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah. I will tell you though, it does speak to my method. It does speak to my method of creation that Brent won't come in there because there's not a tape measure anywhere in sight.
I think we can eyeball it.
I can eyeball everything.
Well, you're making a rock. How hard is it?
It's a rock. It's organic.
It's supposed to be
Go
uneven.
Tape measure. I come back, it's completed. It's finished.
No, it was awesome. But we also had a lot of people that I think enjoyed the stations. And
there were just neat moments to watch people come through with families and being able to sit and watch parents talk with their children about it, and the tactile experiential kind of thing, but in even seeing husbands and wives just praying in front of taking communion together and praying and just reflecting by themselves, and you're trying to make all the pieces flow, but at the same time you're taking time to stop and just watch this and just go, okay, that's really neat and special.
Yeah, I think in my 12 years at the church, it's the first time I've seen people walking out weeping.
Yeah.
They really, they really got it, because
Yeah,
it was just really powerful.
and it's the kind of thing, it energizes you, and you're like, okay, so how do we continue to do something like
Yeah.
that?
That's the hard part.
What does it look like? What is it?
This was great. Oh no, next year.
Well, we were like, if you remember, we were like, okay, let's do a whole walkthrough in every room. We're gonna have this whole scene in the whole building. Woo! But we were planning that. We didn't have as much time as we needed to plan that one, so we ended up on the sanctuary. But we kind of put that in our pocket for maybe next year. But we'll see what happens.
You go in and you say, okay, Lord, we've got an idea. Is this the idea? Does this fit what you would want us to do?
We're trying to help people remember.
Yeah. The whole point is to direct thought and direct their hearts. And so it was exhausting, because all ministry is exhausting.
That's one of the favorite moments this year.
Yeah.
That's
last
just
week.
a test to see if people listen to
Which
the
is
podcast.
an inside joke if you
It's only
listen
a
to the
joke,
podcast.
yeah.
Ministry
You
is
get
also relational, but it can maybe also be exhausting.
If you don't know the joke, you haven't listened to
You
the
gotta
Yeah,
play
now we know who
podcast.
hasn't listened to the podcast.
Second course podcast.
Second episode, whatever, I don't know.
Episode Galatians 5.
Yeah, Galatians 5. Well, we
13
tried.
through
We
24.
tried new things. That highlights the fact that we did some new stuff. We did the garden, we called it, the Easter path, however you want to say it. We did instead of VBS this year, we did the One Crazy Summer Family thing, which was a blast.
That was well received as well.
Yeah, I mean, it felt risky, but the vision behind it of creating something that was for mom and dad to spend that time with their child in a setting that was like VBS, but get to meet other parents, I think was well received. We learned some things. We learned some things not to do. We learned how much we value people and that we send them to the ER. No, I mean,
Travis received a special blessing.
Yes, Travis received, one of our elders received a special blessing upon that. But again, that's the funny thing is, and it's a testament to our leadership. I think that the guys that are on the elder board and stuff, some of we had an elder had an accident at that event. And of course I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And he's like, dude, it was the greatest week of the summer. He said, in spite of that, he said, this was such a great week. And he was out there helping. And you're like, okay, those are men that you follow.
Yep.
Quality men, quality character. And I thought that was such a neat, in spite of the injury, just him going, nah, man, this was great. This was awesome. So.
It was fun to take on some new missionaries. You want to talk about that a little bit, Michael? I think we had a couple of missionaries we took on.
I was like, yeah.
I am going to get through because Michael's going to talk about it.
It's the smoke.
Yeah.
It's the smoke.
Yeah, you can use the smoke as I'm crying. Yeah, that was cool I would assume the first time ever at our church, though we have had some missionaries we support whose kids, when they're on furlough, maybe they have come to Hannah's or whoever, and their kids have also gone in the mission field. But this is kind of the first homegrown missionaries, which is cool. Of course, it's Barkeff's son, one of his sons, and his bride, Abby. So Ben and Abby, who met at this place called Radius, which was a mission training. You don't have to cry, Barkeff. Come on.
It's all right. Okay. Yeah.
No, but they met at this place called Radius, mission training down in Mexico, and it turned out to be the Lord was like directing them together and into the mission field together. And if you know Ben, he's all in, and so it was like, all right, she's the one. We're ready to go. What do we need to knock out? And then they get married, and they're having to raise support and get all the things, all the ducks in a row to get ready to go, get pregnant. Totally fine, gonna be fine. And then they just took off last week on a plane with 400 pounds worth of their stuff. It's all they had, 400 pounds worth of stuff, and a baby who's worth more than all that stuff combined. a newborn, 2-month-old, on a 36-hour trip to now a place that is their home. And so it's just cool in the behind the scenes that maybe the church people don't know. Some will because they're on this, but there's this team of people that are just kind of the care team for them. And there's all these stats that talk about missionaries when they go off, they don't stay in the field as long as they could have, and it's because of lack of support. Even just not financial, but prayer and love, and here's what's going on back home, all emotional, all of that. And so Ben and Abby did a great job of saying, hey, we need people. So Ryan and Kelsey Hammer are leading that team, member care team, and they have a huge team, tons of people on it. In fact, I'm on the team, and so I get these texts of what's going on, and as they're trying to settle with a newborn and a new country and time change and all of that, and language barriers and all of that, they're sending some prayer requests and things, and I mean it's instantly people are sending texts back saying we're praying, you need us, let us know, those things. So it's just cool to see it happening. Once again, just the church being what we're supposed to be. It feels almost like Acts 13 a little bit. We're going, sending people out, and off they go. And it's not Coppell Bible where they are at, but they are representatives of Jesus, but through our church there. And it's just cool to think of the impact they're going to have and the stories they're going to have and being able to come back. And so, man, we got them moving out. There's a really good chance we got some great missionaries moving in.
Yep. So our hope is we've heard from Pablo and Salma Brielli, our dear friends for over 20 years working with us in the Amazon from Argentina, but medical missions in the Amazon, and we just got word that they got their visas, and so they'll be with us for a couple of years soon.
It's cool.
Perhaps they'll get to us in February of 2024, and we're just delighted, and they'll be at our church, and we're just very excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
What the future holds, it's just amazing. Can't wait to see. I think something else we can celebrate is how successful Good News Club has been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
I just think that's something you can share a little bit about.
Sure. Yeah.
It's been very successful.
It's been really exciting. For anybody who doesn't know, we launched that in January, and there was a lot of build-up with it's a long story of how it started, but we were looking for just a way to do missions in our own backyard, basically, of just reaching out to people in our community, and we and also it initially started as how can the youth group have an opportunity to serve on a regular basis. And so we started doing these outreach events at a local apartment complex in town, and because actually one of our own members, Barbara, lives there, and she was a great connection point helping us just get established and meet people at that apartment complex and start up those events. And so we started doing some outreach there. Had a lot of people coming, and we're able to put together just a great team of people who are passionate about evangelism, passionate about reaching children with the gospel. And so we were able to get that team trained last November through Child Evangelism Fellowship, and then launch that in January. And it's been really cool to see that grow. It was definitely, a slow start. When we started, we only had a couple kids at a time, and it was kind of initially like, well, we'll just see how this develops. We'd have 200 people come to our events, but then, Good News Club, when we kick it off, like 2 or 3 kids come, and it's like, well, all right, well, those are 2 or 3 kids that are hearing the gospel, and so, but how can we grow it? And it was really cool just to see the faithfulness of the team week in and week out, every Sunday afternoon show up, and gradually God brought the growth, and we saw more and more kids come. I think in May, when we finished the first semester, we had something like 35 kids come through Good News Club, and most of those were pretty regular attenders by the end. We did some stuff over the summer. We did like a 2-day thing over the summer, and kind of like a Good News Club combined with VBS feel of just a couple days in July, and we had over 40 kids come to both those. And these are all kids who, well, most kids who don't really have any Christian background at all, and so they're hearing the gospel for the first time, and which is just really, really exciting to see. And we've been able to kick it back off this fall and continue to see kids come, and we're just really, really excited about that. And it's an awesome team we have of people, and it's a privilege to serve with them. And also we got 3 of our own high school students that are serving on a regular basis too in that. So just we've told a lot of the students, like, man, if you're looking to grow in your faith and if you're looking to learn how to share your faith, sharing your faith with a 6-year-old is like the best way to start, because they just think you're cool because you're older than them, basically. And so it's just a great non-threatening way to get experience in evangelism, and it's just really exciting to see that. So
Absolutely.
Yep.
Man, we've had a lot of great sermon series. I'm gonna do a random question. Favorite sermon? Ready, go. Your favorite one you preach?
Oh, favorite one you preach?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's hard to think back the whole year.
Boy,
Well, I think the most recent one was fun.
Yeah.
I think my most recent one,
Sure. Yeah.
the beginning of
Galatians
Galatians 5 was a blast. I really enjoyed that one. That was probably my favorite.
I'd say not my most recent, but the one previous to that. It's for freedom that you've been set free.
Yeah.
And just the idea, the opportunity that we've been given in this freedom, and make sure that we don't let that base of operation be used by our flesh, but rather let it be used by the power of the Holy Spirit. We all know those sermons. We're preaching to ourselves first and foremost.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
one that I really enjoyed, especially since I could. That comes right off of having taken my son and grandchild and daughter-in-law to the airport. And it just is a reminder they're taking full advantage of their opportunity for freedom for His purposes.
That is powerful.
So that was very enjoyable for me. And anyway.
Yeah. I definitely enjoyed the 2 times I got to preach on Galatians,
Which is in the New Testament, but you seem to be in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
I think that just got right in your wheelhouse.
it was. I mean, yeah, it was.
It was weird.
Great.
I was like,
yeah.
You got to Leviticus as fast as you could.
Yeah. I had no choice. Paul likes to quote the Old Testament a lot.
only when you preach.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Exactly. Who's scheduling these sermons? Yeah. No, it was really great. It was more than I'd worked on most sermons in my life, I think. But just because, I think especially I don't know. It's hard to pick, but I loved digging into Galatians 3 and just seeing how Paul is defending why his gospel is true against this false gospel that they're hearing, and just him showing that the gospel and what Christ did on the cross, and all of the work of Christ, the person of Christ, is the culmination and the fulfillment of this huge story that God's been writing since the very beginning. And that's really what Paul is doing when he's quoting the Old Testament. He's rooting the gospel of Christ in God's plan of salvation, for that He started all the way back in the beginning. And but also just him defending grace and just defending why it's necessary for us to be justified by faith apart from our works, and it's just a great reminder, whether you've been a believer for a few months or for years and years. That's definitely a reminder that we all need on a regular basis, is that we're grounded on grace and the grace of God, and that's where everything has to start and flow out of that. So it's just really cool to be able to dig into that, and very challenging for me, and just to not only believe the gospel, but man, how am I letting the grace of God change me on a daily basis? How am I, do I treat people with the same grace that God has treated me? Do I almost act as though I've got to earn God's favor and earn God's love for me, or am I living out of that relationship that He's given me as a gift? And so it's just really good to be able to dig into that, and so whether or not anybody else learned anything from it, I certainly learned a lot from it. So that's yeah.
I loved it so much. I sat there twice and listened to you.
Yeah,
it was a
you
good
did.
one.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was a good one.
So what about you, Michael?
Man, I'm gonna go a little further back.
Go for it.
I like the parables was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I actually really enjoyed the wheat and the tares. That one, and it's kind of easy because it's contrast and it's about one specific thing, essentially. But there were, it talks about the judgment that will come. There's two options, but it also talks about it was making me think about the here and now a lot, and that's where I kind of started thinking. I never heard it before, but kind of started thinking, in the same way that the Lord has a plan for me, the devil has a plan for me. And I was thinking specific towards areas of my life, like me as a pastor. The devil has a plan for me as a pastor, and as a husband and as a father, all of those things. I just think, when you see the wheat and the tares, here's the wheat, the tare almost looks like it, and the devil's planting things around you and try to entice you, and it's part of his plan for you. And so, yeah, there's a final judgment, but even in the here and now, just thinking about where is it in my life that I'm allowing or not putting away what the devil's kind of pulling up, or putting up. I'm not pulling it out, or I'm allowing it to be there, and it's just part of this plan that He has for me. It's not the plan the Lord wants, which obviously we know would bring immense shame or suffering of some sort. So that was just eye-opening to me. And then I could give you some specifics, but I think the 2 Peter sermon series as a whole, not saying 1 Peter was bad, but the 2 Peter one, I really enjoyed the 2 Peter one, and especially as you get through the beginning of chapter 1, I got to preach on. I loved it, and then getting to chapter 3, the coming day of the Lord, those pieces, your flash paper that you
that
use,
was fun.
where it all goes. Yeah, it'll go like that, and you had your flash paper. Did you do it second service too? Okay. Yeah, no, I love that. That was a fun.
A little bit more than second service.
Yeah, you didn't do just one. You did like 5 of them. Yeah. No, but I think it's fun. You look back, you're like, man, 1 Peter, 2 Peter, Easter in the middle of that, and then parables that then led us here to Galatians. And now we're 2 weeks out from Galatians and thinking about Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a fun year.
Man, yeah, that is.
It's also fun just after any of us preach, you're just in the lobby talking to people, and you just hear, whether they come tell you or you just hear, they're like, man, this is so good. And you're just like, obviously as a pastor, you want people, you want to connect. You want what you have to say to connect. You want people to come here hungry or not, but to leave here full.
It's fun to see people get excited about the Lord and about His Word, to see it. Like, that's one of the most, I think, the most rewarding things about the privilege of being able to teach the Bible is to see the light bulb go on in someone where, my own story, gosh, the Bible growing up was, I associated it with boring rules, like it's a chore, I have to do it, and it wasn't until later on that the Lord started revealing, like, hey, Brian, there's more here than you think, and I want to reveal myself to you through this, and that started to click for me, and to see, it's always exciting when you see someone else start to get excited about God's Word and about what they're learning about the Lord, and so it's such a cool thing to see.
Especially when you see all the new people coming and you start to get to know them. In our church, as y'all know, we have this really knowledgeable core group. They've been with you for a while. A lot of them have been here for a long time, being discipled and love God's Word. And but here we are now in the last year. I think we'd all say there's been a lot of new people every week. Not all stay every time. They come back.
I think even not just on Sunday, but throughout the week, the women's Bible studies. Julie Lowry really served up some beautiful meals as far as the Bible study goes in the middle of the week. So has Marcy.
Nicole
Rawson.
Yep.
I mean, the number of women who are coming and being served. On Sunday morning, Chip's classroom is
It's blowing up.
overflowing.
We need another sanctuary for that one.
Yeah, we will.
And Jerry Mungadzi serving on weeknights.
Yep.
Steve serving on weeknights. Bob serving on Sunday mornings as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just men's Friday morning Bible study. The women's Bible study happens on Saturday mornings. I know they're doing a little bit of exercise, but they're also getting devotionals done.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's a lot of life going on.
It's so fun too because
Yeah.
you're like, I remember growing up, Christian college. They're like, trying to figure out the best use of a church during the week. Is it a waste to have this building you only really use on Sundays? I'm like, dude, not at Coppell Bible. we're sometimes you get there and people are already there. You're like, you open the church up? You're like,
the explosion of the international ministry on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's huge.
yeah.
It's just
Massive.
It's just massive, and they're doing such a fantastic job and continue to do so. I think that reflects the fact that when we had our fall festival, we had so many people show up because they're getting exposure to us throughout the week constantly. Our Church Under the Oaks just gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it does.
It's hardly under the oaks anymore because you can't fit anybody under the oaks.
We're going to have to plant some oak trees.
can we just uproot some of these?
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
take
because
them?
if we plant more oaks, you won't see them.
Yeah.
But there's just so many good things happening, and we're just watching the life of the church take off. And how many times, like you said, we walk into the building and, oh, I forgot that was going to happen today, And then we have Cross Chapel on Sunday afternoons, and we're just delighted to be hosting them. And obviously they're not Coppell Bible Fellowship, but we are encouraging them and allowing them to use our facilities. I'm just so proud of this church family, recognizing that what we have is ours only because it's been given to us from the Lord for His use. And so let's let everybody use it.
Yeah, and the Lord's really provided a lot of really strong musicians from Cross Chapel that we get the benefit of now, and it's been a huge blessing to me.
And I think what's so special, I've been at other churches where the building was used by different organizations, different groups, different churches. There's something special about Cross Chapel and the fact that when they are part of CBF, though they're another church. Because they're at our services. Keith's at our service. He plays. Not only are they playing in our worship team, but they're in our services, and there's relationships that are built.
Yeah, and just knowing that Keith's the pastor and he's a drummer gives Barkev hope that maybe one day he can play an instrument.
They can stop telling them to stop.
Get that tambourine back out. It's
Not a
time.
chance.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No touchy.
We're going to start with an egg shaker. And that's
Okay,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
A triangle.
And you can be in
Yeah.
your office during worship.
Yeah.
Practice.
That's right.
Okay.
You gotta start somewhere.
And then 5 minutes before 9, we take it away from him.
Yep.
and we throw it in the trash.
You got to earn this.
Yeah.
But congratulations to Cross Chapel.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
Just completed their first year.
Yeah.
And I had the great pleasure of preaching on their first year anniversary. Just
huge.
pray over Keith and his bride, and it's a big deal, and we're happy for them and delighted that God would allow us to have any small part in helping them take off and grow.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Really
Yeah.
cool.
It's been a great year.
And now it's going to be 2024.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, boy.
A lot
That
of
is
good,
wild.
coming forward. 2024. We're,
Hey, we planned sermon series for 8 months.
8 month sermon series, so
We're 8
stick
months
around.
ahead right now.
But we're not going to tell you.
No, we will. We decided to go Revelation. That's why we're 8
Yeah,
months.
that's
we
why
just
it's 8
did
months.
the
It's
whole
just
book
one
of
book.
Revelation. No, I'm kidding.
And you've been trying to get Leviticus for a while.
It's
You
gonna
have.
happen. 2025. I wasn't able to make it happen this time, but yeah.
Just keep pushing,
we
brother.
actually planned the sermon series when he went to the restroom.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
gone. He's gone.
He's
You
gone.
know when we're going to do Leviticus is going to be the day that Barkev goes, yeah, it's time for me to retire.
Uh-huh.
enjoy it, boys.
Have fun.
It is wild though to think today when we were planning stuff and thinking about it and just looking at the year calendar and going, we're going to be back here in no time.
I know.
It's just crazy. And so to think of all the great things that have happened since we've been here, now looking ahead a year going, man, what does he have for us this year? It's just exciting to think.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, we do have great plans for the future, and we're not resting on our laurels. We're asking God to help us continue to plan forward, and hey, we have lots of stuff we hope to share with you very soon
Yep.
in the new year. And we just want you to know that we are so grateful for how faithful you have been, not just to attend and participate, but how many folks that call CBF their church home are inviting friends
Yeah.
and extended acquaintances, and it's been wonderful. And so many folks have been coming, young and old. We are clearly multi-generational church, and we continue to be that. We have so many young couples, some first time to have children, and others who are grandparents walking in our doors and praying for their children and grandchildren to come find a good church. And we have people from across the country who are moving to the Dallas-Fort Worth area and happen to find us, and it's just been absolutely wonderful. And we want you to know how grateful we are, and we understand that you have continually been praying for your staff and your elders and your exec team, and we are blessed and extremely grateful. We know that this is an unusually loving and engaged church, and we appreciate all that you've been doing and how you participate. Your generosity, not only, I'm not just talking about financial generosity, I'm talking about your generosity of pouring your hearts and your lives into other lives here and those around you. And we want to continue to reach out and expand our reach as a church family to those around us. And we have plans to do that. And we will share those plans with you early in the new year, but we just want to tell you Happy New Year. God bless you. God bless your family. And we'll see you soon.